Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, thank you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to this video to help support the message. Thank you. Well, everyone, before touching on what I want to touch on today, allow me to thank each and every one of you for you guys' prayers and for all the words. For those that were in the know, gracias. You guys know I've been in the hospital since Thursday, and I barely got out today, and it was I went in supposedly needing blood, and they lied to me. It's a bunch of things, and the needing blood is they made it a chaos, as you guys can see. They even canceled chemo today. But anyways, I'll probably be back in a few days to emergencies. But for right now, I'm home. Thank you again. Well, everyone, today I want to touch on the type of mentality that we have when we're there, pushing. And even though as a man, we know it ain't right, we still don't see it. And I say this because of me, right? I'm speaking about myself as always. But allow me to take you back to Tehachapi. In Tehachapi, there was a paisano there. They called him Gato or Colima, whichever one you wanted to call him. He's a pretty good sized individual, right? He, uh, he was real fitness. You know, he was out there on the yard with us in the group yard. It was real easy to get along, did the rutina, and most of all, he was involved in politics. That's why he had came from Clark County to Tehachapi for some politics where he had to move on a Llavero, right? And anyways, he was there for that hit, and again, he was real cool. While we're there, just IGI's caught up with him. You know, everybody that was in the mix knew it was just a matter of time before squad came and they snatched you up and took you to the back and sat you down, right? Validated. It was just part of, you know, you could say it's another dumb decision that we made, especially like in my case, right? Being a lifer and be looking forward to not having a date and going to get slammed, right? But again, it's the way the structure or the movement is built. But anyways, this paisano, he would end up getting validated, and he would be shot to Corcoran, you know. And you guys know when things like this happen, more than likely you're not hoping to run across each other again, because knowing that individual's validated, the only way to run across them is if you're validated yourself, right? Again, Tehachapi had a funny way, right? For example, 7 block, it was literally half and half. mostly B section. It was half homies validated and half homies not validated. But everybody was involved. It was like the squad separated the camaradas that they knew they were involved and sent to this block, right? But anyways, time would pass. I would eventually end up in Corcoran. I'll go through my phase in AR and then I will get validated. And when I was an AR, I was in touch with Playboy a lot and Indio. They were the two main individuals underneath Artie, right? Over there on B yard. But you don't put extras on the appeals. For example, who's your Cellie, who's over there. You get to business and that's it. You get across what you need to get across. They tell you what needs to be told and that's it. But anyways, once I got over there, I came to find out that Playboy was sold up with Gato. Keep in mind, Gato he didn't have only a reputation of being a solid paisano. He was also one of the best artists that I met. Right, he was a true artist when it came to revolution. Nothing but revolution. He was bad at all that trains and horses and you guys know what I'm trying to say. He was good at that freehand. But anyways, they were still up, you know, for quite a bit. I would go through my phase. I would end up with Deco, and then I was already there with Deco. It's basically for those that know how the shoes are. Like in Tehachapi, you could get away with things. For example, you have a Cellie you don't get along with, you can stand in Tehachapi in between everything and just 10 toes down. Your Cellie too, 10 toes down, and you just go at it. Grab each other with one hand and with the next, just boom, 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 a lo que va. Don't hit nothing metal so nobody notice what's going on in the cell, right? Till one has enough. But anyways, Corcoran is very different. It has that type of doors, like the holes. Some cells had a petty glass, some cells didn't. In this case, Gato and Playboy didn't. We didn't either. And anyways, it was I don't know. I don't even know what time it might have been, right? But it was sometime in the middle of the night. You start hearing the cell. Mainly, like I said, you could hear everything: the shoes, the back and forth. For those that have been in Corcoran, know when you do rutina, you're upstairs. Every little sound echoes, right? And anyways, they were getting him up in the cell. For whatever reason, they got him up, you know. And sincerely, Colima got the best of a Wolfie or Playboy, because he didn't come out to the cages for a while. They who doesn't run in, they did their thing, right? They separate them, they were whatever. They came out, they took Colima, and I guess had him for a couple of days, basically verifying. I'm guessing if he he didn't want to lock it up, he wanted to come back and program, right? According to him, he had not done anything wrong. Even though he was involved in politics, he should have been able to add what was going to happen, right? What's coming next. And anyways, where I say, even though I knew things weren't right, but I was still there pushing it. It's this exactly, It's they went at it from the shoulders, and Homeboy wasn't funny at all. He was a good dude. Squad took him. They had him. He didn't lock it up. He didn't speak. He didn't say nothing. He denied everything, you know. And he came back. Once he came back, he didn't have a celly at first, but he kept coming out to the dog cages, right? And I was that gusanito of poison, you could say, when we're in the dog cages, and he was telling me like, "Hey, Chino, okay, what do you think's gonna happen?" And I told him, "I don't know, you know, but there's gonna be a repercussion for this. To what extent, I don't know. You gotta be the one to decide, what man up and take the repercussion. You never know if Playboy he says chales, nada pasó and nada pasó and it's a squash, right? They can't make a Pili say anything. The problem was, I guess, Playboy wasn't answering Gato's appeals, right? But I knew what was gonna happen. Straight up, I knew he was done. He was gonna get wet, and it's just because he laid hands on a Pili. According to him, they were watching something. They had an argument, and he was sitting on the edge of the bunk, the concrete, side by side, and looking up at the TV. And Playboy took off on him, and he just responded, you know. And again, you could not touch his topic with Playboy at all, because even though Playboy acted like a camarada, everybody knew what he was, right? He was a señor. So from the moment they pulled Gato out that cell, it was everybody knew he was done. His career was done. It didn't matter how it started, nothing, or how it ended. It just that it happened. That's all that mattered. And anyways, without making it too long, you know, eventually you will get moved in with the homie, big old homie from Woodyear. I forgot what Woodyear he was from. Brown Brotherhood or something to that effect, right? Dispensing. He was from Woodyear though, the homie, and he would get set up with him, and Judas left him, took off the handcuffs, and they waited for the Huda to get off, and then Gato knew what time it was. It was boogie time, and I guess the homie from Woodyear was telling them like, nah, nah, kick it, everything's cool. And Gato said, Charles, I'm gonna wait for you to dope free me, right? So let's get it out the way. And I guess the homie already had a pedazo, and the paisa defended himself. But I mean, think about it. The one thing about corcoran is that the bunks are side by side. It gives you wiggle room to swing, you know. And Gato didn't have a filero. He went in there to take what he had coming. The vato, or the homie, excuse me, from Whittier would not end up taking his career. You know, I remember we were all just banging on the sinks or on the bottom of the sinks, right? Making noise, some calling out Rutina to try to buffer the sound until Tower caught onto it and they came in and you know they would end up putting him in single cell walk alone. He never locked it up. He never locked it up. He kept coming out to yard and basically already put him on the shine. And nobody was supposed to conversate with him. You know, he was basically on the S list, and it's messed up, right? I'm not gonna play the I was the goody goody with fairy tale mentality. No, to be honest, since the gate that it happened, I knew what had to be done. And even though I knew personally Gato, I knew what had to be done. And given the opportunity, I would have jumped on it because that's a causa. Like I said, I had so much time to sit down and reflect on these little incidents here and there, right? And basically, I'll leave this like a cautionary tale, right? I'm just sharing with you this experience, but I'll leave it with a question. Tell me how or what, how do you see this action? You got an individual that you were on the yard with, real cool, was doing things for multiple pillies. He was loved so much that when he got to Corcoran, Playboy pulled him to live with him, right? Think about that. Playboy pulled him to live with him. It was not accidentally he landed with Playboy. And I don't really know if his story is true inside, but however it might have played out inside, do you think it's it's fair? I understand that dilemma of our race is untouchable and the race trip, right, on the yard and everything. But when it's your own people that you ride with, and it's a good, solid people, and basically, I'll be honest with you, the way I looked at it is, and I hope this fool for putting hands on the Billy at the moment. Not that I sit back, it's like, why? Why? You know, I understand rules and regulations, no hands on policy. He's a member, but one getting their butt whooped should be enough for somebody that already sacrificed everything for the causa to be taken out like como si nada. You know, I just want to hear your opinion. My opinion is they both went at it in the cell. They both should have manned up. You know, I'll be honest. If we would have run across each other afterwards, I would have took flight. That's just how it's things are meant to happen, right? But I just want to hear your angle on things. I just thought I would share this with everyone. Again, thank you. Please stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones.